Listen, pause for a moment. Not casually, not distracted, not halfway present, because something about this moment is different. Something about right now feels heavier, more intense, more urgent than anything you scrolled past before. You didn't just click this. You didn't randomly land here. And deep down, you already feel that, don't you? There's been a strange tension in your spirit lately. A quiet uneasiness you couldn't explain. Moments where everything seemed normal on the outside, but inside, something kept whispering, "Pay attention." Maybe it showed up when you were alone. Maybe it hit you in the middle of the night. Maybe it came as a sudden thought that didn't belong to your usual pattern. And you brushed it off. You told yourself it was nothing. Just overthinking. Just your imagination trying to make something out of nothing. But what if it wasn't? What if that feeling, that subtle nudge, that unexplainable weight was actually a warning? Because here's the truth being revealed right now. Heaven does not interrupt without reason. And when it does not whisper forever. There comes a moment when the message becomes louder, more direct, more urgent. And that moment is this one. You see, there are times when life flows in predictable patterns. Days blur into nights. Conversations repeat. People remain the same. But then there are moments, rare, sacred moments, when everything pauses, when the rhythm breaks, when something from beyond the natural steps in and says, "Stop. Look. Listen." This is that moment. Something is shifting. Not weeks from now. Not someday in the distant future. Something is already moving behind the scenes of your life. Quietly. Strategically. And you've been sensing it without having the words to explain it. Have you noticed how certain things haven't been sitting right with you lately? The way someone spoke to you, but something about their tone felt off. The way a situation unfolded, but it didn't quite add up. The way your peace has been interrupted, randomly, unexpectedly, without clear reason. These are not random disturbances. They are signals. And here's where it becomes serious, because not every signal is meant to comfort you. Some are meant to prepare you. This message is not here to entertain you. It's not here to simply inspire you for a moment and then fade away like everything else. No, this is a divine interruption. A line drawn in your timeline. A moment where everything could shift depending on what you do next. Because there is something about timing that you cannot ignore. You've had moments before where you said, "I wish I had paid attention sooner." Moments where hindsight became painful clarity. Moments where you realized the signs were there, but you didn't take them seriously. And if you're honest, you don't want to feel that again. Not this time. Because something about this feels different. Stronger. Closer. More immediate. It's like standing at the edge of something unseen, knowing that if you take one step without awareness, everything could change. And here's the part that matters most. You are not being warned because you are meant to suffer. You are being warned because you are meant to avoid what is coming. But avoidance requires awareness. And awareness requires you to stop ignoring what your spirit has already been trying to tell you. Right now, there is a choice forming in front of you. A quiet but powerful decision. You can dismiss this. You can scroll away. You can label it as just another message and continue on, as if nothing ever reached you. Or you can lean in. You can listen. You can recognize that maybe, just maybe, this moment was arranged for you. Because if this truly is a divine interruption, then ignoring it is not neutral. It's costly. And something inside you already knows that. That's why you're still here. That's why your attention hasn't drifted. That's why your mind keeps circling back to one thought. What if this is real? Hold on to that question, because what comes next will answer it in a way you cannot ignore. Type "I am alert" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2026 is now surrounding you. There is something about time that most people misunderstand. They think it moves slowly, predictably, endlessly stretching forward with unlimited chances to correct what was missed. But that is not how divine timing works. Time, when it is touched by heaven, does not drift. It sharpens. It narrows. It compresses into moments that carry weight far greater than the hours around them. And right now, you are standing inside one of those moments. You can feel it if you are honest with yourself. There is a pressure building, not loud, not chaotic, but steady. Like a clock you cannot see, ticking somewhere beneath the surface of your life. You wake up. You go through your day. You interact with people, yet something deep inside keeps whispering, "Don't delay. Don't ignore. Don't assume you have time." That voice has been with you recently, hasn't it? Quiet, persistent, impossible to fully silence. This is not fear. This is awareness. Because there are moments in life when a window opens, and what you do within that window determines everything that follows. Miss it, and you don't just lose time, you lose alignment. You lose the positioning that could have protected you, redirected you, or prepared you. And the painful truth is, most people only recognize those moments after they have already passed. Think back to a time when you said, "If only I had acted sooner." That sentence carries weight because it reveals something important. You sensed it before it happened. Here was a sign, a hesitation, a thought that tried to get your attention. But you dismissed it. You waited. You delayed. And when the outcome came, it was no longer preventable. It was only understandable in hindsight. This is what makes this moment different. You are not being told after the fact. You are being warned before. The urgency you feel right now is not accidental. It is tied to timing. Specific timing. Precise timing. There is a reason the moment is being highlighted, a reason there is a sense of before it's too late. Because some events, once they begin, cannot be reversed, only endured. And heaven, in its mercy, does not want you to experience what could have been avoided through awareness. There is a tendency in human nature to believe that serious moments will announce themselves loudly. The danger will come with clear signs, obvious signals, undeniable evidence. But often, the most critical moments arrive quietly. They approach without noise, without drama, without warning that feels dramatic enough to force your attention. Instead, they rely on subtlety. And if you are not spiritually alert, you miss them entirely. Right now, the clock is not just moving, it is narrowing. Each passing moment is bringing something closer, something that has already been set into motion. And the question is not whether time will continue, but whether you will recognize what this time is asking of you. There are decisions that feel small in the moment but carry consequences far beyond what you can see. A conversation you choose to have or avoid. A place you decide to go or not go. A feeling you listen to or ignore. These are not random choices when you are standing in a moment like this. They are intersections. Points where one path leads to protection and another leads to regret. You are being asked to slow down internally, even if everything around you continues as normal. To become aware of the weight behind your choices. You recognize that this is not a season for autopilot living, because autopilot is what causes people to miss the exact moment they needed to be fully present. Time is not your enemy, but ignoring time can become your greatest mistake. There is something approaching your life, something that does not announce itself with clarity, but reveals itself only to those who are paying attention. And this is why the warning feels urgent, why it carries a sense of immediacy. Because once the moment passes, awareness will no longer be an option. It will become realization. And realization, when it comes too late, carries a different kind of pain. The kind that says, "I knew something was off, I just didn't act on it." You are being given the opportunity to avoid that sentence. Do not rush past this feeling. Do not minimize what your spirit is trying to show you. Because this is not just about time passing, it is about time speaking. And right now, time is speaking directly to you, urging you to become alert, to become intentional, to become aware of what is unfolding around you. The clock is ticking, not to create fear, but to awaken responsibility. Not to overwhelm you, but to position you. Not to trap you, but to prepare you. And what you do next will matter more than you realize. Type "I will not delay" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3030 is now activated around your path. There is something you must understand right now, and you must understand it clearly. Not everything that affects your life begins in the visible. Not every shift announces itself in a way your eyes can immediately recognize. Some of the most significant events, the ones that carry the greatest impact, begin quietly, forming, building, aligning behind the scenes long before they ever touch your reality. And that is exactly what is happening now. You may look around you and see nothing out of place. Your environment may seem normal. Conversations may feel routine. People may appear unchanged. But beneath that surface, something is moving. Something is forming. Something is being set into motion with a precision that you cannot yet fully see, but you can feel. That subtle tension you have been carrying, that unspoken awareness that something is not quite right, is not without reason. It is your spirit reacting to a storm that has not yet broken into the visible. Storms do not begin when the rain starts. They begin when the pressure changes. They begin when the atmosphere shifts. They begin when forces you cannot see start colliding in ways that will eventually demand expression. And right now, the atmosphere around your life is shifting. Not in a way meant to harm you without warning, but in a way that requires you to become aware before the impact reaches you. There are conversations happening that you have not heard. There are decisions being made that you have not seen. There are movements unfolding that do not yet involve you directly, but they are moving closer. This is the nature of what is forming. It is not random. It is not chaotic. It is structured, even if it feels invisible. And that is why this warning matters, because once these movements reach the surface, they will feel sudden to those who are not paying attention. You are being given the advantage of awareness before manifestation. Think about how many times something unexpected happened in your life, and your first reaction was, "Where did that come from?" But later, when you looked back, you realized there were signs. There were patterns. There were small moments that, if taken seriously, would have revealed what was building long before it arrived. The difference between shock and preparedness is awareness. And right now, you are being invited into awareness. This hidden storm is not necessarily loud or dramatic in its early stages. It operates through subtlety, through shifts in behavior, through changes in tone, through patterns that begin to repeat themselves in ways that feel slightly off, but easy to ignore. And that is where most people fail. They dismiss what feels small because it does not yet feel urgent. But small shifts, when ignored, become large consequences. You must begin to observe differently. not with fear, but with clarity. Pay attention to what feels inconsistent. Pay attention to what does not align. Pay attention to the moments that interrupt your peace without explanation. These are not random disturbances. They are signals that something beneath the surface is trying to reach your awareness before it fully emerges. There is also something deeper you need to recognize. Not everything that forms is meant to destroy you. Some things are meant to expose what was hidden. Some things are meant to reveal truths that were concealed. But exposure, when it comes suddenly, can feel like chaos if you are not prepared for it. That is why this moment matters. Because preparation does not stop the storm, but it changes how it affects you. You are not being told this so that you live in fear of what is coming. You are being told this so that you do not walk blindly into it. There is a difference. Fear paralyzes. Awareness positions. Fear confuses. Awareness clarifies. And right now, you are being positioned, not threatened. The hidden storm is not fully visible yet, but it is close enough for you to sense its presence. That is why your spirit has been unsettled. That is why your intuition has been stronger than usual. That is why certain things have felt heavier without clear explanation. These are not coincidences. These are early signals of something forming just beyond your current line of sight. And here is the truth you must hold on to. Storms reveal as much as they disrupt. They bring to light what was hidden. They expose what was concealed. They force clarity where there was confusion. And if you are prepared, if you are aware, if you are aligned, what could have overwhelmed you can instead become something you navigate with strength and understanding. Do not ignore what you are sensing. Do not dismiss what feels different, because what is forming now will not remain hidden for long. It will surface. It will reveal itself. And when it does, your level of awareness in this moment will determine how it impacts you. You are not being left in the dark. You are being shown the outline before the full picture appears. And that is your advantage. Type ISE clearly in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 4141 is now surrounding your awareness. As this message unfolds and the hidden begins to surface, understand this. Light does not spread on its own. It moves through those willing to carry it. Right now, you are not just hearing this warning, you are becoming part of a greater mission to awaken others before their moment arrives. The word says that what is sown in faith returns in multiplied measure, and every seed released into truth becomes a harvest in someone else's life. If your spirit is stirred to act, if something within you is saying this must reach more people, then this is your moment of obedience. Your support through Super Thanks or PayPal is not just giving. It is planting light where darkness would have remained. The links are already placed before you, in the description, and even within the frame of every message, waiting for those who are ready to move. Do not hesitate when the call is clear. Step forward, sow with intention, and watch how heaven responds to your action with open doors and overflowing provision. There is a reason this message does not feel completely unfamiliar to you. There is a reason it does not sound entirely new. Because long before these words reached your ears, something within you had already begun to sense it. Not clearly, not fully, but enough to create a quiet disturbance in your spirit that you could not ignore, even if you tried to explain it away. You have felt it in moments when everything around you seemed normal, yet something inside you refused to settle. A strange discomfort in places that once felt familiar. A sudden shift in your mood without any visible cause. Conversations that left you thinking something about that wasn't right, even when you couldn't explain why. These are not random emotional fluctuations. These are signals. Subtle, persistent signals that something deeper is trying to reach your awareness. Think about the recent days or weeks. There have been moments where your intuition felt stronger than usual, almost as if it was trying to guide you more urgently than before. You may have found yourself questioning things you normally wouldn't question. Not out of fear, but out of a quiet awareness that something didn't align. You may have noticed patterns repeating themselves in ways that felt too precise to be coincidence. Small disruptions, small inconsistency, small interruptions to your peace. Individually, they seemed insignificant, but together, they form something much larger. Your spirit recognizes patterns before your mind does. That is why the feeling comes first, and the understanding comes later. You may have dismissed these sensations as stress or overthinking. You may have told yourself that you were reading too much into things. But deep down, there was always a part of you that resisted that explanation. A part of you that knew this was different, that this was not your usual way of reacting, that something about this felt more intentional. Have you noticed how certain environments have started to feel heavier than before? Places that once brought you comfort now carry a subtle tension. Or how certain people's energy feels different even if their words have not changed. You may not be able to point to anything specific, but your instinct reacts anyway. That instinct is not random. It is awareness trying to guide you before clarity arrives. There have also been interruptions in your peace that seem to come out of nowhere. Moments where your thoughts became unsettled without a clear reason. Times when your focus shifted suddenly, pulling your attention towards something you could not quite identify. These moments are easy to ignore because they do not demand immediate action. But ignoring them does not make them meaningless. It only delays your understanding of what they are pointing toward. This is how early warning works. It does not always come with loud alarms or dramatic signs. It comes quietly, through sensations, through shifts in perception, through subtle changes in how you experience the world around you. And those who learn to recognize these signals are the ones who move with awareness instead of reacting in confusion later. You have also likely experienced moments of pause, times when you felt the need to slow down without knowing exactly why. A hesitation before making a decision. A second thought before saying yes to something. A feeling that you should step back, observe, wait. These pauses are not hesitation born from uncertainty. They are moments of protection. They are opportunities to see more clearly before moving forward. What here is where it becomes critical. These signals only help you if you take them seriously. If you continue to dismiss them, to rationalize them, to push them aside, then when the full picture reveals itself, it will feel sudden, even though the signs were present all along. You are not being asked to become fearful of every sensation. You are being asked to become aware of what is different, to notice what stands out, to recognize that your perception has been heightened for a reason, because something is forming, something is approaching, and your awareness is being activated ahead of time so that you are not caught unprepared. There is also a deeper truth in this moment. You have always had this ability, this sensitivity, this awareness. But there were times when you ignored it, times when you doubted it, times when you chose logic over instinct even when your instinct was correct. And now, you are being brought back to that awareness, but with greater clarity and urgency than before. What you feel is not confusion. It is clarity waiting to be acknowledged. So do not ignore the sensations that do not make immediate sense. Do not dismiss the subtle shifts that interrupt your normal patterns, because these are not random experiences. They are part of a larger message that is still unfolding, a message that is preparing you for what is coming next. And when that moment arrives, when what is hidden begins to reveal itself, you will look back at these sensations and realize they were guiding you all along. You are not in the dark. You are in the early stages of understanding. Type "I trust my discernment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5252 is now strengthening your intuition. There is a question forming in your mind, whether you have spoken it or not. Why you? Why this message? Why now? Out of all the people moving through their lives, unaware, untouched by this level of urgency, why has this found you? And the answer is not random. It is not accidental. It is not something you should dismiss as coincidence. There is a reason you are here, a reason your attention was captured, a reason your spirit did not allow you to scroll past this moment without pausing. You were chosen to hear this because you are aware enough to recognize it. Not everyone would understand what is being said right now. Not everyone would feel the weight of it. Some would hear these words and move on without a second thought, unaffected, unchanged. But you did not. Something held you here. Something kept your attention. Something within you said, "Listen." That is not by chance. That is because you carry a level of sensitivity, a level of perception, a level of awareness that allows you to receive what others overlook. And that awareness makes you different. There is something about your life that has always been slightly out of step with the ordinary. You may have noticed it over time. The way you pick up on things others miss. The way you sense shifts before they become obvious. The way you feel deeply, observe carefully, and question what others accept without thought. This is not a flaw. It is not overthinking. It is not weakness. It is discernment. And that discernment is the very reason this warning reached you. Because awareness is not given without purpose. You are not being warned simply to know. You are being warned because your awareness places you in a position to respond differently, to act differently, to avoid what others might walk directly into without realizing it. That is what makes this moment significant. You are not being left in the same position as everyone else. You are being given insight ahead of time. And with insight comes responsibility. There is also something else you need to understand. When you carry awareness, you also attract attention. Not always visible attention, not always obvious. But there is a reason why certain challenges, certain patterns, certain pressures seem to find their way into your life more often than they do for others. It is not because you are weak. It is not because you are unlucky. It is because awareness disrupts what would otherwise go unnoticed. And disruption creates resistance. You may have felt that resistance before. Situations that seem to complicate without clear reason. People who reacted to you in ways that felt disproportionate to what you said or did. Moments where you felt misunderstood, even when your intentions were clear. These experiences are not random. They are part of what happens when you carry something that others do not fully recognize or understand. And now, that awareness is being sharpened. This message is not just a warning about what is coming. It is also a confirmation of who you are. Someone who can see, sense, and respond before things fully unfold. Someone who is not meant to move through life blindly. Someone who is meant to notice what others miss and act on it. But here is where it becomes serious. Being chosen to receive a warning does not automatically protect you. It only positions you. Protection comes from what you do with what you have been given. You cannot ignore this and expect the same outcome as someone who never received the message. You cannot dismiss this and assume it carries no weight. Because once you become aware, you are no longer moving in ignorance. You are moving in knowledge. And knowledge changes the nature of every decision that follows. You have been placed in a moment where your awareness matters more than ever. Where your ability to recognize what is happening beneath the surface can make the difference between being prepared and being caught off guard. And that is why this message feels personal. Because it is. You are not being spoken to generally. You are being addressed specifically. Your attention, your awareness, your response. There is something about your path that requires you to be alert right now. Something about your current position in life that makes this moment critical. And even if you cannot see the full picture yet, even if you do not understand every detail, you can feel the importance of what is being said. That feeling is not random. It is recognition. Recognition that this moment is connected to you in a way that cannot be explained by coincidence alone. Recognition that you are not just hearing this, you are meant to respond to it. And now, the responsibility shifts to you. Will you take this seriously? Will you trust what you are sensing? Will you allow your awareness to guide your next steps instead of ignoring it as you may have done in the past? Because being chosen to hear this is not the end of the process. It is the beginning of your response. Type "I am aware" and ready in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6363 is now aligning your path. There is something working against you right now, and it does not come in an obvious form. It does not appear as danger. It does not arrive with alarms or warnings that force you to stop and pay attention. Instead, it comes disguised as something harmless, something ordinary, something you would never suspect to be a threat. And that is exactly why it is so effective. Distraction is not loud. It is subtle. It blends into your routine so seamlessly that you do not recognize it as interference. It pulls your focus away from what matters, not by force, but by suggestion. It fills your mind with noise so that you cannot hear the quiet signals trying to guide you. And before you realize it, your attention is scattered. Your awareness is dulled, and the very moment you needed to be alert passes you by unnoticed. Think about how easy it is to become consumed by things that do not require your full attention. Endless scrolling, repetitive conversations, small concerns that grow larger simply because you keep focusing on them. These are not inherently harmful on their own, but when they occupy your awareness during a critical moment, they become obstacles. They take up the space where clarity should exist. And right now, clarity is what you need most. There is a reason you have felt pulled in different directions recently. A reason your focus hath been harder to maintain. A reason small distractions have seemed more persistent than usual. This is not random. It is not simply a busy period in your life. It is a test of your awareness. Because when something important is forming, distraction often increases to keep you from noticing it. You may have already experienced moments where you intended to pay attention to something important, but somehow your focus drifted. You started thinking about something else. You moved on too quickly. You told yourself you would come back to it later, and later never came. These are not isolated moments. They are patterns. Patterns designed to keep you just distracted enough to miss what matters most. There is also another layer to this. Distraction does not always come in the form of activity. Sometimes it comes in the form of denial. A quiet voice that says, "It's probably nothing." A thought that convinces you to ignore what feels different. A tendency to downplay what your instinct is trying to show you. This is one of the most dangerous forms of distraction because it feels logical. It feels reasonable. But in reality, it is keeping you from seeing clearly. You must understand that ignoring a signal does not make it disappear. It only delays your response to it. Right now, you are in a moment where your attention is being tested. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that feels overwhelming, but in a subtle, consistent way that determines whether you remain aware or become passive. And passivity is what allows important moments to slip by unnoticed. You cannot afford to be passive right now. You must become intentional with your attention. Notice where your focus is going. Notice what is pulling you away from clarity. Notice the moments when you feel something important, but choose to ignore it because it is easier. These are the moments that matter most. There is also something you need to recognize about how distraction works. It does not try to stop you completely. It only tries to delay you. Because delay in the right moment is enough to change the outcome. If you act too late, even by a small margin, the situation may no longer be the same. The opportunity to respond may have shifted, and what could have been avoided becomes something you have to face instead. That is why this moment is critical, because you are being made aware before the full impact arrives. You are being given the chance to sharpen your focus, to remove unnecessary distractions, to become present in a way that allows you to see what is unfolding. This is not about removing everything from your life. It is about recognizing what matters right now. It is about choosing awareness over autopilot. It is about understanding that your attention is not unlimited, and where you place it determines what you notice and what you miss. You are not being asked to live in fear. You are being asked to live with intention. Because the difference between those who are prepared and those who are caught off guard is not intelligence, not luck, not circumstance. It is awareness. It is the ability to remain focused when it matters most. It is the discipline to listen to what is subtle instead of only reacting to what is obvious. And right now, something important is subtle. Do not let distraction take this moment from you. Do not allow noise to drown out what is trying to reach your understanding. Because once this moment passes, the opportunity to respond with clarity may not be the same. Stay present. Stay aware. Stay intentional. Because what you notice now will determine what you face later. Type "I stay focused" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 7474 is now strengthening your clarity. There comes a point in every critical moment where awareness alone is no longer enough. A point where everything you have sensed, everything you have noticed, everything that has been building within you reaches a place of decision. And that is where you are now. Not in the stage of questioning, not in the stage of wondering, but in the stage where what you do next begins to shape what happens next. You have already felt the signals. You have already recognized that something is different. You have already been brought into awareness in a way that you cannot fully dismiss anymore. And now, the moment has arrived where you must choose how you respond to that awareness. Not casually, not passively, but deliberately. Because there are always two paths in a moment like this. One path is the path of ignoring. It is the easier path, the quieter path, the one that requires no immediate change, no adjustment, no discomfort. It allows you to return to routine, to continue as if nothing significant has reached you. It offers temporary relief from the weight of responsibility. But that relief comes at a cost. Because ignoring does not stop what is forming. It does not pause what is approaching. It only ensures that when it arrives, you will meet it unprepared. The other path is the path of alignment. And alignment is not always comfortable. It requires attention. It requires awareness. It requires you to take what you have sensed and allow it to influence your decisions, your actions, your focus. It may ask you to pause when you would normally move forward. It may ask you to step back when you would normally engage. It may ask you to listen more carefully, to observe more closely, to trust what you feel even when it does not fully make sense yet. This is where the difference is made. Most people do not fail because they were never warned. They fail because they ignored the moment of decision. They felt something. They knew something, but they chose not to act on it. They chose comfort over awareness. They chose familiarity over clarity. And when the outcome came, it felt sudden, even though they had been given the chance to prepare. You are not in that position right now. You are in a different position. You are aware. You are present. You are standing at the exact point where your response still has the power to influence what comes next. But you must be honest with yourself. There is a part of you that wants to dismiss this. A part of you that wants to believe it is not as serious as it feels. A part of you that prefers to continue as you were, without interruption, without adjustment. That part is natural. It is human. But it is also the part that leads to missed moments. And then there is another part of you, quieter but stronger. The part that recognizes the weight of this moment. The part that feels the importance of what is being said. The part that knows this is not something to take lightly. That part is your awareness. That part is your clarity. And that part is what you must choose to follow. Alignment begins with small decisions. It is not about making drastic changes all at once. It is about becoming intentional with what you do next. It is about choosing to pay attention instead of drifting. It is about choosing to pause instead of rushing. It is about choosing to listen instead of dismissing. And those choices matter more than you realize. Because what is coming will not wait for you to catch up. It will unfold according to its own timing. And whether you are aligned or unprepared when it arrives will depend on the decisions you make now. You cannot remain neutral in a moment like this. Doing nothing is still a decision. Ignoring is still a choice. And every choice carries a direction with it. It moves you toward awareness or away from it. Toward preparation or away from it. This is why this moment feels heavier than usual. Because it is not just information being given to you. It is an invitation to act. To respond. To align yourself with what you have already begun to sense. You do not need to have every answer right now. You do not need to fully understand everything that is forming. But you do need to respect what you are feeling. You do need to acknowledge that this moment matters. You do need to choose awareness over comfort. Because once this decision is made, everything that follows begins to shift accordingly. You are not being forced. You are being given the opportunity. The opportunity to align before it is necessary. The opportunity to prepare before it is urgent. The opportunity to respond before it is too late to change your position. And that opportunity is now. So take a moment. Be still. Recognize where you are standing. Recognize the weight of what you have been given. And make your decision consciously. Because what you choose in this moment will shape what you experience in the next. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8585 is now activating your direction. There is a moment coming that will change the way you see everything around you. Not gradually, not slowly, but suddenly. A moment where what has been hidden begins to surface, where what has been unclear becomes undeniable, where what you once questioned is no longer something you can doubt. And when that moment arrives, it will not feel like something new. It will feel like confirmation of everything you have already been sensing. Because exposure does not create truth. It reveals it. Right now, there are things operating beneath your awareness. Situations that are not fully visible. Intentions that have not been openly expressed. Dynamics that are still concealed behind appearances. But none of these things can remain hidden forever. There comes a point where pressure builds, where alignment shifts, where circumstances bring what is hidden into the light. And that point is approaching. You may not know exactly what will be revealed yet, but you can feel that something is not complete, that something is unresolved, that something has been forming without your full understanding. And that feeling is accurate, because exposure is not random. It is the result of something that has been building for a while, something that has reached a stage where it can no longer remain concealed. When this moment comes, it will likely arrive in a way that feels unexpected, even though the signs were there. A conversation that subtly changes direction, a piece of information that was previously unknown, a shift in someone's behavior that reveals more than their words ever did. These moments do not appear out of nowhere. They are the surface expression of something that has been developing quietly until it could no longer stay hidden. And here is what you must understand clearly. Exposure is not meant to confuse you. It is meant to clarify. But clarity can feel uncomfortable when it arrives suddenly. You may be confronted with something that challenges what you believe. You may see a situation differently than you did before. You may realize that something you trusted was not exactly what it seemed. These realizations can feel intense, not because they are harmful, but because they force you to adjust your understanding in a very short amount of time. This is why your awareness now matters so much. Because when exposure comes, your ability to remain calm, to remain observant, to process what is happening without reacting impulsively will determine how you move through that moment. If you are unprepared, the suddenness can overwhelm you. It can cause confusion, emotional reaction or right decisions. But if you are aware, if you are grounded, if you have been paying attention, that same moment becomes something you can navigate with clarity. You are not being told this so that you anticipate something negative. You are being told this so that you are not caught off guard when something becomes clear. There is also something else important to recognize. Not everything that is revealed will be dramatic. Some exposures are subtle. They come in small realizations, small shifts in perception, small moments where you suddenly understand something that was unclear before. But even subtle exposures carry weight, because they change how you see what is in front of you. And once you see something clearly, you cannot go back to not seeing it. This is why the moment of exposure is so significant, because it moves you from uncertainty into clarity. It removes the space where doubt can exist. It brings definition to what was previously undefined. And in doing so, it requires you to respond differently than you would have before. You must be ready for that. You must be ready to accept what is shown, even if it is not what you expected. You must be ready to trust what becomes clear, even if it challenges what you assumed. You must be ready to act based on understanding, not based on comfort. Because exposure is not just about seeing. It is about responding to what you see. There is something forming that will soon reach that point of visibility. Something that will step out of the background and into your awareness in a way that cannot be ignored. And when it does, the preparation you have done in this moment will determine how you handle it. You will either meet it with confusion or with clarity, with reaction or with understanding, with hesitation or with confidence. And that choice will depend on how seriously you take this moment right now. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Stay ready to see what hath been hidden. Because when the moment of exposure arrives, it will not ask if you are ready. It will simply reveal. Type "I accept the truth" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 9696 is now activating clarity in your life. As truth rises and what was hidden begins to surface, understand this sacred principle. Light multiplies through those who choose to release it. What you are receiving right now is not just for you. It is meant to reach others who are still in darkness, still unaware, still unprepared. The word declares that those who sow into truth will reap in abundance, And this moment is your opportunity to plant something eternal into someone else's life. If your spirit is stirred, if you feel that inner pull to act, do not ignore it. This is not just support, it is obedience. Through your super thanks or PayPal offering, you are opening the door for more messages like this to reach souls at the exact moment they need it most. The links are already waiting for you, placed in the description and visible within every message. Step forward with intention, release your seed, and watch how heaven responds by expanding what flows back into your life. Now that you have been brought into awareness, now that you have recognized the signals, now that you understand something is forming and something will be revealed, there is a natural question that follows. What are you supposed to do with this? Because awareness without action leaves you exposed. Awareness with alignment is what creates protection. And this is where the shift begins. You are not being asked to panic. You are not being asked to react impulsively or to make drastic changes based on fear. What is being asked of you is far more precise, far more controlled, and far more powerful than that. You are being asked to become intentional, to move with awareness, to operate from clarity instead of habit. Protection, in moments like this, is not about force. It is about positioning. The first thing you must understand is that your awareness must remain steady. Do not allow your focus to drift now that you have come this far. This is not the moment to relax your attention. This is the moment to sharpen it. Continue to observe what feels different. Continue to notice what does not align. Continue to listen to that internal signal that has already been guiding you. Because that signal is your first layer of protection. You must trust what you are sensing. There may be moments in the coming time where something feels slightly off, but there is no immediate explanation. In those moments, do not override your instinct. Do not dismiss it simply because it is inconvenient or unclear. That feeling is information. It is your awareness recognizing something before your mind has fully processed it. And acting on that awareness, even in small ways, can shift your position in ways you cannot yet see. There is also a need for restraint. You do not need to engage with everything. You do not need to respond to every situation immediately. You do not need to place yourself in every environment or conversation. Sometimes protection is not about what you do, but what you choose not to do. The ability to pause, to step back, to delay a response, or to remove yourself from something that does not feel right can be the difference between being involved in a situation and avoiding it entirely. This is not avoidance. This is discernment. You must also become aware of your timing. Not just what you do, but when you do it. There may be moments where the right action taken at the wrong time creates unnecessary complications. And there may be moments where waiting, even briefly, allows clarity to emerge before you act. Timing is part of alignment. And right now, your awareness of timing must be just as strong as your awareness of the situation itself. Another important aspect of this moment is simplicity. Do not overcomplicate what you are sensing. Do not try to create elaborate explanations for everything you notice. Keep your awareness clear. Focus on what is directly in front of you. Focus on what feels different. Focus on what requires your attention now, not what might happen far in the future. Overthinking can become its own form of distraction. Clarity comes from staying grounded in the present moment. You are also being asked to remain calm. There may be a temptation to let your thoughts run ahead, to imagine outcomes, to create scenarios based on incomplete information. That is not where your strength lies. Your strength lies in staying present, in staying aware, in allowing things to reveal themselves without forcing understanding before it is ready. Calmness is not passivity. It is control. It is the ability to remain steady while everything else is still forming. And finally, you must recognize that protection is not something you create on your own. It is something you align with. You have already been brought into awareness. You have already been given insight ahead of time. That means you are not alone in this process. There is a structure to what is happening, a guidance that is placing you in a position where you can respond effectively. Your role is to stay aligned with that guidance, not to override it. This is your protocol. Not complicated, not overwhelming, but precise. Stay aware. Trust your instinct. Exercise restraint. Respect timing. Keep your focus clear. Remain calm. These are not random instructions. These are the exact actions that will position you correctly as what is forming begins to reveal itself. Because when that moment arrives, when exposure happens, when clarity replaces uncertainty, your preparation now will determine whether you move through it with stability or with disruption. You are not being left unprepared. You are being equipped. And what you do with that preparation will define how protected you are when the moment arrives. Type "I am protected and aligned" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1112 is now surrounding your path. There is something you must face directly in this moment, without softening it, without avoiding it, without trying to make it sound less serious than it is. Delay has consequences, not small consequences, not temporary discomfort, but outcomes that can reshape your experience in ways that are difficult to reverse once they begin. And the most dangerous part about delay is that it rarely feels dangerous while it is happening. It feels harmless. It feels like "I'll deal with it later." It feels like it's probably not that urgent. It feels like nothing has happened yet, so I still have time. And that is exactly how critical moments are missed. Because delay does not announce itself as a mistake. It presents itself as comfort. It gives you space to avoid action. It allows you to remain in what is familiar. It removes the immediate pressure to respond. But what it also does, quietly and without resistance, is move you closer to a point where your ability to change the outcome becomes limited. You must understand this clearly. There are moments in life where action taken early prevents consequence. And there are moments where action taken late can only reduce the impact, not avoid it entirely. The difference between those two outcomes is timing. And timing is what you are being warned about right now. If you ignore what you have sensed, if you dismiss what has been made clear to you, if you allow distraction or denial to take control, you are not stopping what is coming. You are simply choosing to meet it without preparation. And unprepared moments are where regret is born. Regret does not come from not knowing. It comes from knowing and not acting. You may have experienced this before in smaller ways. A situation where you felt something was off but you did nothing. A moment where you had the chance to act differently, but you chose to wait. And later, when everything became clear, the realization came with a question you could not escape. Why didn't I listen to myself? Now imagine that same realization, but in a moment that carries greater weight. A moment where the consequences are not minor, but significant. A moment where the outcome affects more than just a passing situation. That is what delay risks creating. There is also something else you need to recognize. Delay does not only affect what happens externally, it affects how you experience what happens. When you are unprepared, everything feels more intense, more overwhelming, more difficult to process. You are forced to react instead of respond. You are pushed into decisions without clarity. You are trying to understand what is happening while it is already unfolding around you. That is not where you want to be. Because once a situation reaches that stage, your control over it changes. Your ability to influence the direction becomes smaller, and what could have been avoided becomes something you have to navigate under pressure. This is why this moment matters so much, because you are not being told after the fact. You are being given the chance to avoid that position entirely. But that chance is not permanent. There is a window, a period where awareness can still be turned into action, where preparation can still change the outcome, where alignment can still position you correctly. And that window is what is being placed in front of you right now. If you step into it, if you take this seriously, if you allow your awareness to guide your next steps, then what is coming does not have to affect you in the same way it would if you ignored it. The situation may still exist, but your position within it will be different. You will not be caught off guard. You will not be reacting in confusion. You will be moving with understanding. But if you delay, if you choose to return to routine without adjustment, if you allow this moment to pass without response, then when the time comes, the clarity you have now will be replaced with realization. And realization, when it arrives too late, carries a weight that is difficult to ignore. You are not being told this to create fear. You are being told this to create urgency. Because urgency is what moves you from awareness into action. It is what prevents delay from taking hold. It is what keeps you present, focused, and intentional when it matters most. Do not wait for something to happen before you take this seriously. Do not wait for confirmation that comes after the moment has already passed. You are being given enough awareness now to act before that point is reached. And that is the difference between preparation and regret. The choice is not complicated, but it is significant. Act now, or understand later. And understand this: later is always heavier. Type "I will not delay my response" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now guarding your decisions. Now everything begins to shift. Up until this moment, you have been brought into awareness. You have been shown the urgency. You have been guided to recognize what is forming and what is at stake. But now, there is something you must understand that changes the tone completely. You are not being left alone to face what is coming. You are not being asked to stand unguarded in the middle of uncertainty. There is protection available to you, but it is not automatic. It is activated through alignment. Protection is not about removing every challenge from your path. It is about positioning you in a way that what could have affected you no longer has the same access. It is about redirecting you at the right moment, holding you back when necessary, guiding you forward when the timing is right. And this is what becomes available to you when you choose to listen instead of ignore. You may not always recognize protection when it happens. Sometimes it does not feel like rescue. Sometimes it feels like delay. Like something you wanted to happen suddenly does not move forward. Like a plan you had changes unexpectedly. Like a door you thought would open remains closed. In those moments it is easy to feel frustration. It is easy to question why things are not going the way you expected. But what you cannot see in those moments is what you are being kept from. Protection often looks like redirection. There will be moments ahead where something does not feel right, and you choose to step back. That decision will not always feel significant in the moment. It may feel small, even unnecessary, but that single moment of alignment can place you outside of something that would have affected you if you had continued forward. This is how protection works. Not always in obvious ways, but in precise, intentional adjustments that change your position at exactly the right time. There is also a calmness that comes with protection. Not the absence of movement, not the absence of change, but a sense that you are not moving blindly. That even when things are shifting, you are not being pulled into confusion. You are able to observe, to understand, to respond without panic. That calmness is not accidental. It is the result of being aligned with what you have already been made aware of. You must trust that, because there may be moments where you are tempted to override what you feel, to push forward even when something tells you to wait, to engage even when something tells you to step back, to dismiss a signal because it does not make immediate sense. In those moments, your protection depends on your willingness to listen, not to force outcomes, not to control every detail, but to follow the awareness you have been given. You are not being asked to predict the future. You are being asked to respond to the present. And when you do that consistently, when you stay aware, when you trust what you sense, when you act with intention instead of impulse, you begin to move differently. You begin to avoid situations that would have caught you off guard. You begin to recognize patterns before they fully develop. You begin to position yourself in a way where what is forming around you does not have the same impact on you. This is the shield. It is not something you see. It is something you experience. It is the difference between being in the middle of something and being just outside of it. The difference between reacting to a situation and observing it without being overwhelmed by it. The difference between confusion and clarity. There is also a level of confidence that comes with this. Not arrogance, not certainty about everything, but a steady awareness that you are not moving blindly, that you are paying attention, that you are responding when it matters, and that awareness creates a different experience even when external circumstances are shifting. You will not avoid every moment of discomfort. That is not what protection promises. But you will avoid unnecessary impact. You will avoid being caught in something you had the chance to step away from. You will avoid the regret that comes from ignoring what you already knew. That is what is being offered to you now. Not immunity from everything, but alignment with what keeps you positioned correctly. And that alignment is within your control. Every moment you choose to stay aware, every time you listen instead of dismissing, every decision you make with intention instead of habit, you strengthen that position. You reinforce that protection. You move further away from being unprepared and closer to being guided. You are not powerless in this moment. You are being equipped. And if you continue to listen, if you continue to align, if you continue to trust what has been revealed to you, then what is coming will not meet you the same way it would have if you had ignored this. Because you will not be standing in the same place. Type "I am covered" and guided in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1313 is now strengthening your protection. This is where everything comes together. Not as a continuation, not as just another part of the message, but as the moment where all of it meets you directly. You have been brought into awareness. You have felt the urgency. You have seen how time, distraction, exposure, and decision all connect. And now, there is no more distance between what you have heard and what you must do. This is your moment. Not tomorrow. Not later. Not when things feel more certain or more comfortable. Right now. Because everything about this message hath been leading to this exact point. The point where you are no longer just listening, but choosing. You have been given insight before the moment arrives. You have been shown what others often only realize after it is too late. And that changes everything. Because now, you are not standing in ignorance. You are standing in awareness. And awareness demands a response. There is no neutral position here. Even silence is a choice. Even inaction carries direction. The only question is whether your choice moves you toward alignment or away from it. You already know what it feels like to ignore something important. You already know what it feels like to look back and realize the signs were there. That awareness was present, but it was not acted on. That opportunity existed, but it was not taken seriously. And you already know how heavy that realization can be. This moment is your opportunity to avoid that. Because everything you have felt while listening to this, every moment of recognition, every sense that something here connects to you personally, is not random. It is confirmation. Confirmation that you are meant to take this seriously. Confirmation that you are meant to respond differently this time. Do not wait for something external to force your attention. Do not wait for circumstances to become undeniable before you decide to act. You have already been given enough to move forward with clarity. Enough to adjust your awareness. Enough to begin aligning your actions with what you have sensed. This is where many people hesitate. They wait for certainty that never comes in advance. They wait for proof that only appears after the moment has passed. And in that waiting, they lose the very advantage they were given. You cannot afford to hesitate now, because hesitation is what allows timing to pass you by. It is what turns awareness into missed opportunity. It is what shifts you from being prepared into being reactive. And everything about this moment is calling you to do the opposite. You are being called to act with intention, to stay aware, to trust what you feel even when it is subtle, to make decisions that reflect the understanding you have been given, not the comfort of routine. This is not about doing something dramatic. It is about doing something deliberate. It is about choosing to remain alert instead of drifting, choosing to observe instead of assuming, choosing to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. These choices may seem small, but they carry weight far beyond the moment in which they are made. Because what is coming will not ask if you are ready. It will simply arrive. And when it does, your preparation will already have determined your position. You are not being left to figure this out on your own. Everything you need to recognize this moment has already been placed within you. The awareness you feel, the clarity that is forming, the sense that this matters, these are not things you need to search for. They are already present. All that remains is your response. Will you take this seriously? Will you allow this moment to shape your awareness moving forward? Will you choose alignment now before it becomes necessary? Because once this moment passes, it does not return in the same way. This is your window, your opportunity, your point of decision. And what you choose now will echo into what comes next. So stay aware, stay intentional, stay aligned. Because this is not just a message you heard. This is a moment you were meant to respond to. Type "I respond" with awareness in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2020 is now sealing your path. As this message reaches its final breath, understand this sacred truth. What you just received is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to move through you. The light that warned you is the same light that must now reach others standing on the edge of their own moment. God says that when you sow into His work, you are not giving away, you are releasing seeds into a harvest that multiplies beyond what you can see. If your spirit feels stirred, if you sense that this message carries weight not just for you but for countless unseen lives, then this is your divine instruction to act. Your offering through Super Thanks or PayPal becomes a river, carrying truth into places where darkness still speaks louder. The link has already been placed before you, waiting not for hesitation but for obedience. Step into this moment, release your seed, and watch how heaven responds by opening doors, increasing favor, and returning to you what you released in faith.